Hey everyone. I know it's Friday evening and you don't want to be here, but we'll keep it quick. And this was a great event. I'm excited to be here. So is Eva. And today we'll be talking about a DAO that we co-founded called Komorebi. That's how it's pronounced, Komorebi DAO. And we'll be talking about how we can change the founding and funding landscape in the crypto space using DAOs. With that, Eva, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Eva. My family's from Hong Kong, but I was born and raised in Australia. And a bit about myself, I would describe myself as someone who's pretty rebellious. So I'm the type of person that will look for rules, learn them, figure out how to bend them, break them, make new ones. So safe to say, I really like the crypto space. It's really intellectually stimulating. And in terms of my crypto journey, I kind of serendipitously came in as a product manager, and then I worked in an open source project or a Series C startup in San Francisco, and now I'm kind of in between the US and Taiwan, researching and investing at Mechanism Capital.
And quickly introducing myself, my name's Manasi and Vora. I'm originally from India, but have lived in the US for the last 10 years or so. My background's in the engineering field, but most of my career has been in the financial industry, the traditional financial industry, which I left for crypto and I haven't looked back, so I'm glad I'm here. But as I was kind of transitioning into the crypto space, I would go to events like these back in 2016, 2017, and I would be one of maybe three women in a room of hundreds of men. And that's when I realized, okay, are we repeating the same mistakes that we did in the traditional finance world in this new world that we are building? And that was kind of my motivation to start a nonprofit called Women in Blockchain, where our mission is to increase diversity in the space, and we undertake various initiatives. One of them is Komorebi DAO that we recently launched that we'll be talking more about. But we also have our co-founders, Kinjal Shah from Blockchain Capital, Medha Kotari from She256 and Cello, and Christy Huang from She256 and Pantera Capital. With that, what is Komorebi DAO? It's an investment DAO that is focused solely on investing in female and non-binary founders. And what does the name mean? It's a little hard to pronounce, but it's not that hard. The name actually has a really interesting significance. It's a Japanese term that's almost untranslatable, which means sunlight filtering through a dense forest and highlighting the undergrowth, which is usually neglected. So with that sentiment, we want to highlight underrepresented founders in the crypto space who are really talented but usually do not get the funding that they deserve.
Something that we hear a lot is diversity is a buzzword, but we don't think diversity is a buzzword. In fact, even in an evolutionary sense, when you think about diversity, it's about reducing the risk of mass extinction. And even in a crypto sense, protocols don't want their early investors and early contributors to not evolve and not to have new and bright ideas coming to the space. And so in many ways, we think crypto has traditionally, at its inception, and even continues to be very male-dominated. But when you bring more diversity into the space, you bring more fresh ideas, and everyone that comes to the space has something new to offer because they have wisdom from things that maybe you haven't experienced. And I guess every marginal person that comes into the space gives us an extra chance to build a better and new system, and also make sure that we're still around, the space is still around.
Yeah, and honestly, ETCC has been great. I've been to events where the male to female ratio has been much, much terrible. So this is great.
Yeah, and it's important that if we're building a global phenomenon, we want crypto to be a global phenomenon, it's important that the builders in this space represent the diverse world that we are.
And I think it's not just a moral or a philosophical conversation. It makes financial sense as well. So just throwing some stats there was a research that was done by Allrays and PitchBook that showed that teams with at least one female founder exit faster. On an average, 6.9 years, as opposed to male-founded teams exit in 7.5 years. Additionally, there was another research where they found that companies with female founders perform 63% better than their investments with all male founding teams. So there's data and number to back that this is not just a philosophical conversation, but it also makes financial sense. However, last year, only 2.3% of all venture funding went to women-led startups, which is a pretty terrible number. And in addition, I think one of the biggest reasons why that happens is because 65% of venture funds do not have a single female check writer. And if there are no female check writers, female-led projects are not going to get funded. And that's, again, female VCs are 2x more likely to fund a female-led team as opposed to male VCs. So there's a two-sided problem here. One is just having more female VCs. So the funding landscape needs to change, but then the founding landscape also needs to change. And I think those are two interrelated problems that we are hoping to solve with Komorebi DAO. So that's kind of our mission at Komorebi, and DAOs are what enables that.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, but DAOs allow any community to back anything and any change they want to see in the world. And I think today in investing, a lot of people are left out in deciding what gets built and who builds it. So Komorebi is just a bunch of people who are putting capital and mindshare to fixing that and changing that.
And if we look at traditional VCs versus investment DAOs, I tweeted about this. Traditional VCs are not going to make it. Investment DAOs are going to make it. Just memeing this comparison here. But the only thing I see common between the two is, yes, both of them are funding vehicles. But when we talk about legal barriers to create a VC firm, the costs that are super prohibitive to launch a VC firm, the setup time can take weeks to months. All of that is kind of simplified in a DAO process. And we are built on something called a syndicate protocol, which essentially lets communities come together and launch investment DAOs in less than a couple minutes and less than $10 in gas cost. So that's reducing the barrier to entry. Another important distinction is the collective power. So we'll be sharing a little bit about who our DAO members are, but with a traditional VC, the decision making is centralized. It's just few people making decisions, as opposed to leveraging the knowledge of the collective community. And we have some amazing backers who are founders in the space, angel investors in the space, whose knowledge we can leverage in this DAO model.
So in terms of who is in our DAO, we're really proud to be supported by funds like Mechanism Capital, Dragonfly, IDEO, Kleiner Perkins, and Stacks Accelerator, as well as we have a powerhouse roster of individuals who've either worked or founded companies like Compound, Aave, Gitcoin, Twitter, Coinbase. I think that's the bulk of it.
It's a really good group of people. And how kind of a little bit insights on our investment process is we've structured the collective or the DAO as two components. One is the core team, which is what we introduced initially, and then the rest of the members kind of form the collective team. And we do sourcing together, leveraging each other's networks to find deals. The diligence part is done by the core members, so that's how kind of our governance works right now. But once we've identified companies and projects we want to invest in, it goes to the DAO members for voting and discussion and criticism and just making sure we are investing in projects we really believe in. And that's through Gnosis Safe, super easy to use, MFN model. And then on top of that, we can provide portfolio support. So usually in a VC firm, you get portfolio support from maybe one partner. As opposed to in a DAO, we can really tap into the network of the amazing people that are part of this DAO and provide portfolio support to the companies that are part of our investment portfolio. I'm not going to talk about the tools because it's pretty basic. Our size is so small, but I think tools in the space are right now evolving, so we will grow and scale up as new tools are available in the space. One really interesting insight, though, is we've seen a lot more deal flow with female founders than traditional VCs have seen in 2 years. And we've only launched a month ago. We've already spoken to 20 plus female founders in the space. Even just at ETH CC, I've met three or four female founders. So we are definitely seeing a lot more female founders that are raising right now. So it's not a pipeline problem. That's definitely a myth. You just need to know where to look and how to make yourself accessible. We've made our intention pretty clear, and that is enabling founders to reach out to us and raise funds. So that's kind of really critical to our mission in terms of being able to fund underrepresented founders.
Yeah, I think that just about summarizes what Komorebi is about. I think at the end of the day, crypto is full of a lot of people that are just experimenting. And in many ways, Komorebi is an experiment as well. We're all kind of like mad scientists trying to figure out how to bridge reality to the type of idealistic world that we kind of want to see. So basically, our hypothesis is just that we need more diversity, and that diversity is going to help us make sure that we're still going to be around, and there's going to be more innovation that way. And Komorebi is just our way to actively have capital, put in the money and time to find, fund, and nurture exceptional founders who are female or non-binary.
Yeah, and I guess a quick ask from everyone who's listening to this talk is, if you come across female founders, we would love to chat with them. But also, we don't have to do this alone. Hopefully, we've inspired other people to launch similar DAOs. And even if your mission is not solely focused on investing in female founders, I think you can still do a lot better than having 90% of your portfolio be white males. So that's kind of our ask. Thank you. And we can take questions. You can also find us on Twitter. But happy to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you, ladies. That was awesome. If anyone has any questions for them, please come to the stage. You can use this mic right here so everyone in the live stream can hear.
Congratulations. So in the life of the fund, being it a DAO, will it ever end? And when it has an exit, and say the company is bought up in fiat, what will be the scenario to pay back the investors? Thank you.
So we raised a small round, and we're deploying all that within the next 3 months. And the current round is actually just an MVP for us. It's for us to figure out how we want to do this. And I think we're leaning towards being very long-term holders, like we want to support the female founders. And we're hoping that we have a few bets that really grow the portfolio and then exit when it makes sense to, based on the market or generally how we would choose to exit our positions.
Does that answer your question? Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Yeah, so when the company exits, it's going to exit in fiat probably. So then how are you going to pay back the fund that it's a DAO, and how the DAO is going to reimburse people, like their investors?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Right now, when we are funding companies, we are funding in crypto and getting either equity or tokens in the company. If it's token, it's easy, right? We can just give that back to the investors or LPs. But if it's equity, definitely it might come in fiat. We just have to convert it and distribute it accordingly. But that's a challenge. Hopefully there are tools out there, there are projects out there that are solving this problem.
Yeah, and Syndicate Protocol is actually building out all these as we speak to make this easier for everyone. And that's why we chose to build with Syndicate Protocol.
Yeah, we built on Syndicate Protocol. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your talk. It was amazing.
Thank you.
I've been following actually 256, which is incredible, and I love the idea. So I have two questions. First one, what if we have a scenario where we have like 2 or 3 co-founders, or even 4, and there's female inside of them. So would you like invest in this kind of team?
100%, 100%. I should have made that clear. So our criteria is that the founding team should have at least one female founder or
Right.
non-binary founder. We are,
Great.
yeah. If your team has a female founder, that's all we need to invest in you.
All right, I'll pitch them. And the second question is, so we've seen the LP, like liquidity providers, to your investing DAO. Do you consider like accepting some sort of liquidity from the outside community down the line?
Outside community, as in?
Like the
Like crowdsourcing?
Yes.
Yeah, so like Eva mentioned, this is kind of the pilot. We wanted to test out the waters, test out the hypothesis, see how this works as a DAO. It's the first time we are doing it. First time I think it's happening in the industry. That's why we kept it closed and reached out to just people we know. But we definitely want to do a round 2 where we can open it up to more people.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
the regulations are kind of still forming around that. Like sometimes when you have a crowd raise, it can be seen as soliciting, so that's why we kept it closed to begin with.
Just super quickly, I think you touched on it a bit, but do you guys have an internal decision-making process that includes a vote? And what kind of participation are you seeing? Is everyone voting, like on everything, or is it like Moloch, the Lao style, like social, like quick consensus by a small majority?
Yeah, so right now we are doing 2 types of voting. One is off-chain voting, which is not really sophisticated at the moment, but it works for us. We don't want the added complexity of using another tool. So the off-chain voting is on Telegram, and the on-chain voting is on Gnosis Safe, right? Yes, voter apathy is a real thing, and I hope Boardroom and others are solving. Shout out to Boardroom, are solving that problem, and we can get more involvement in the decision making.
Thank you.
Thank you.